with this. All right, so today we have got a class focused primarily on flexibility. This is something that is a very, very interesting topic and near and dear to my own heart, just as someone who's had a dance background and someone who spent a very, very large part of her life stretching, and it took me a very long time to realize that I was doing it extremely incorrectly. So I want to spend the classes this week diving a little bit deeper into flexibility, mobility, but then also incorporating that into movements that we use to create strength. So we're going to just kind of dive on into that today, and we'll start with the way we always do, which is just a little bit of breath, laying flat on your back. And you're gonna just lengthen out the spine, let your feet fall heavy, and let's take an inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. And repeat, inhale. And exhale. As you continue to cycle through this breath, you feel your hips be heavy on the floor. Feel your shoulders pull down to the ground so the chest and the ribs open up. On your exhales, you pull the upper abs inward and then up in towards that space where your ribs meet. Take 3 more big inhales and exhales. And we'll go for last 2. Breathing all the way into the pelvis, into the diaphragm. Last one, inhale. And go ahead. All I want you guys to do is just start to rock your knees side to side. So super simple start for the day. Just feeling this out. And one thing I want you guys to keep in mind for the entirety of class is that we are going to be looping back through a lot of movements for the sake of feeling them out in different kind of levels of tension. And so basically what I mean by that is we're going to start with a movement like this. We're just rocking the knees side to side, pre-stretch, pre-effort, and then we'll do this movement again a little bit later. And I want you guys to take note if it feels more limber, if it's feeling more stiff. And we'll kind of cycle through some cool movements to help open things up. Bring your feet back to center. Speaking of which, let's go straight into just little pelvic tucks. Pressing the lower back into the floor, squeezing the glutes, the lower abs, and then inhale to lengthen out again. And repeat, exhale. And inhale. And repeat, exhale. And inhale. Continue to cycle through this nice and easy. Just getting the lower spine warmed up, the glutes, the hamstrings. Keeping the knees in parallel for 3 more. Making sure the upper body stays nice and stable for these last 2. And last one, lengthen your tailbone out. Now, we're gonna get a little bit more technical. Root your hips down on the floor so your pelvis doesn't shift as you pull your right knee in towards your chest. And I'm serious about that pelvis not shifting, because what we have a tendency to do when we pull into these stretches is we let our tailbone lift up, let our lower back roll, but I want you guys to keep this neutral spine position as you pull your knee into your chest. Good. Exhale, release that foot, and then pull the left foot in. Breathe into it, trying to keep your tailbone down and connected to the floor. Neutral spine. And then release that leg, opposite one, right side. Take an inhale and an exhale. And switch one more time, left side. Breathing into this for just a moment. Pop your feet back down on the ground, and we're going to go straight into bridges today. So we articulate these bridges. Press your lower back into the floor, squeeze the glutes, roll yourself up, 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 up. Bring your hips as high as you can. Feel the fronts of your thighs open. And then roll yourself back down, one vertebrae at a time. Shoulders are connected to the floor. Inhale and exhale, repeat, rolling up, 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 up. Pull the abs in. Now, take note of where you feel tension in this movement. Do you feel it in the backs of your shoulders? Do you feel it across your chest? Maybe it's in the fronts of your thighs or hips. Take note of where you might be feeling some inhibition happening, because that is typically where you have the tightest muscles. We're gonna go for 2 more. So for me, for example, my quads and my hips are notoriously tight. And so my biggest inhibitor is always getting my hips to open up when I get to the top of the movement. Hold it up here for me. Press your arms down into the ground, lengthen the back of your neck. Take an inhale and an exhale. Inhale. On your exhale, roll yourself back down to the ground, lengthening out the spine. Breathing into that. Good. Lengthen your right leg up to the ceiling. You can point the toe or flex the foot. Bring it as high as you can, as long as you can. Peel your head, neck, and shoulders up off the floor. Reach for the hamstring, the calf, whatever you can get. Hold it here. And now we flex the foot and point the toe. And flex the foot and point the toe. One major thing I want you guys to keep in mind while you're working through this is that you want to keep your neutral spine. You want to keep your tailbone connected to the floor. Even if it means you're walking down to your hamstrings, that's totally fine. This is our first major stretch of the day. It doesn't have to be perfect or huge. Let's go for 3. Shoulders stay away from the ears. 2. Last one. Lower the head, neck, and shoulders. Pull that leg into tabletop position. Shoot the right leg long and forward. Drag it back in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep those hips super rooted into the floor. So right now, our hips really haven't moved for this whole series. It's just our leg. For 3 and 2. Last one, pull the knee in, lower the foot down, bring the left foot up, lengthen it as far as you can. Keep your neutral pelvis as you rock yourself up to the hamstring, the calf, whatever you can reach. Hold it, and then flex, and point, and flex, and point. Keeping your tailbone rooted down. The more you root that tailbone, the bigger you're gonna feel this stretch as you cycle through the flex and point. And the flex and the point are really just kind of activating different stretches in your leg. The flex, you'll feel more of the calf. The point, you'll feel less of the calf, more of the front of the leg. For 2 and 1, lower the head, neck, and shoulders down. Pull that left leg to tabletop. Shoot it long and forward. Drag it in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Continue to cycle through this breath. We're going to go for 4. Keep the hips even on the floor. Last 2. Last 1. Pull that knee in. Lower the foot down. Roll onto your right side for me. Tuck your head onto your arm. We're just doing a quick transition. I know some new flows today. You're going to lengthen your left leg diagonally backward. Pull your core in super tight. Point your toe towards that back edge of the mat. And what I want you guys to avoid is arching your lower back. So you want to squeeze that left glute. You're going to feel a stretch all the way up into the psoas. Reach your arm long and diagonally forward so you create this great X shape. We have done this in my classes before, but never quite so deep. Take an inhale and an exhale. When you're ready, lift your back leg up off the floor. Tap it back down and repeat. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Focusing on creating this great length through the body. You're squeezing the glute. You're pulling the core in super tight. Inhale, exhale. We have last 3, last 2, rotating through the waist. 1, hold the leg up, hold it. Lift your long reaching arms, so you're creating this great uplifted X position. Squeeze into that, breathe for 4, 3, 2, 1. Curl everything back to center. Find yourself lying back, and we're gonna switch straight into the opposite side. So I'm gonna face away from you guys for this one. Tuck your left arm underneath your ear. Shoot your top leg long and back to the end of the mat. Squeeze the glute. Feel that big stretch in the front of your hip. If you're feeling this in the lower back at all, maybe pull your foot a little bit more forward. Reach the hand diagonally forward in front of you so you make this big X. Hold the stretch for a moment. And then we tap the foot down, lift, tap, lift. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Cycling through this, feeling this great connection to your core as you lengthen into this long X for last 2. Last 1, hold it up, 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 lifting up through the long arm as well, so you hold this great X shape for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull everything back, center on the floor. Alrighty, set the feet up in parallel, press your arms down by your side, and we're going back into these bridges. Pulling the core in and up, we articulate, squeezing the glutes, rolling the hips up, 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 up. Open the chest, see if you can get a little bit higher. It's kind of insane how much more open my hips feel after all that great hamstring and hip flexor stretching. Roll yourself back down. Hopefully you guys are feeling some similar sensations. It's still effort. You still have to work to get those hips up, but hopefully you're feeling a little bit less inhibited now that we've got some really good stretching going on. And exhale. Squeezing the glutes up, 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 up. Keeping the knees in parallel. Roll back down. Maybe you also find it easier to get some articulation because we got this great rotation in the spine. And roll. We're going to go for just 3 more. And squeeze the glutes, rolling up, 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 up. Pressing the arms down so that you open up the chest. And we're going to go for last 2. Digging your heels into the floor. Roll it back down. And we've got last one. Exhale. Rolling up, 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 up. Hold it up there for me. Hold it. Pick your right foot up into tabletop. Lengthen that leg up to the ceiling. Hold the hips high as you flex and point. Flex and point. Not just feeling the front of your right leg, of your long leg flexing, but also engaging the hamstring as you flex and point. For 3 and 2. Last 1. Lower that foot back down. Center up the hips. And then we bring the left foot up. Flex it up to the ceiling. Keep the hips even as you flex and point. Flex and point. Maybe pop your hands on your hip bones. See how they feel. For 3 and 2. Last 1. Lower that foot back down. Center up. Roll yourself back down, lengthening your spine as you lower 1 vertebrae at a time. Pull your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little rock side to side. Beautiful job, guys. All right, we're going to go back into that nice little bit of hamstring. This is one of the reasons I love the movement Climb a Tree on mat, is because it is also very much some hamstring movement. So you're going to lengthen the left leg. You're going to keep your right knee bent, and you're going to pop your hands on your pelvic bone so that you can feel your hips be really stable and centered. Glide your hands underneath your lower back for just a moment so you can find that neutral spine. And now pull your right knee into a tabletop position. Whenever you're ready, lengthen that leg up to the ceiling. Keep the tailbone rooted down as you peel the head, neck, and shoulders up through your upper abs. Hold it there. On an exhale, pull your leg a little closer to your face. Don't lose that neutral spine. On an exhale, pull your leg a little closer to your face. Don't lose that neutral spine. Hold it there for me. Breathe into it, and now walk your hands down your leg. Bring it back to tabletop. We repeat. Lengthen the leg up to the ceiling. Walk your hands up, keeping your hips super grounded so you peel up through the upper abs. On an exhale, pull your legs a little closer to your face. Keep the tailbone down. Don't let your hip hike up like that. And then pull in a little closer. Walk yourself back down. We've got one more. Those hamstrings should be like woo. Lengthen the leg up to the ceiling. Walk up your hands. On an exhale, pull the leg a little closer to your face. Check in with the tailbone. Make sure it's staying grounded. Hold it. Reach your fingertips high and away from you. And then switch the legs. You grab onto the left leg. Right leg is down on the floor. Where is your tailbone? Check in with it. Walk yourself down. Bend the knee. And then lengthen that leg back up to the ceiling. Walk yourself up 1 inch at a time. You may find you have one side that's much easier than the other. Walk yourself back down. That's totally fine. And lengthen the left leg. You'll find my left side does not like to cooperate nearly as much as my right, so I don't get quite as far. Take an exhale, pull closer to your face. Walk it back down. We're gonna go for 2 more on this side. Lengthen, walk it up. Keep the hips squared. Keep your eyes on your hips. And walk it back down. We've got our last one. Lengthen the leg. Walk it up. Keep your hands on your leg as you pull in towards your face. Hold it. Lengthen the arms. And now we switch. And switch. And switch. Keep your hip bones down on the floor. You should be able to watch your hips and make sure they're not rocking side to side. You pull the lower abs in, and we have 4, and 3, 2. Last one, pull center and go ahead, relax the knees, rock side to side. Beautiful job, guys. Whew, we know flexibility day was gonna be so much core work. All right, go ahead and pop your feet on the floor in parallel once more. We're coming back to that rock side to side. Feeling it out now. See how the knees, how the hips, how the legs feel comparatively. I'm finding that it's a much more fluid movement. I feel a lot less sticky in the transitions. Maybe you're not quite there yet. That's totally cool. Alrighty, let's go ahead. We're going to do one more inflection, and then we're going to start bothering the hip flexors. So roll up, another one we do very, very commonly, but I want to turn this into more of a stretch motion. So we're going to inhale, reach the fingertips up overhead, flex your feet to point the toes to the ceiling, dig your heels into the floor as you peel your head, neck, and shoulders up. Roll over your beach ball. When you get to the top of the movement, don't collapse down. Lengthen the spine as much as you can. Reach your fingertips around your ears. And then lengthen up from the lumbar spine to the middle spine to the upper spine. And then we tuck the tailbone, dig your heels down into the floor. We roll down 1 vertebrae at a time as we inhale. And exhale, roll up around your beach ball, reaching, lengthen the spine, and the more you lengthen this lower back, the more you're going to feel the stretch in your hips. And then roll up, and in the hamstrings particularly. And then roll back down around your beach ball, pull the shoulder blades down your back. Inhale, we're going to do 1 more, and then we're going to switch gears. Rolling up, 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 up. Lengthen the spine. Reach the arms long and forward. Pull the core in and up. Now, we're going to keep going with roll up. You're going to take your feet to a little Pilates V. You're going to reach your arms long and forward As you squeeze the inner thighs together, roll down. All right, full disclosure, I am not nearly as good at this version of roll-up, so you guys are gonna see me struggle. But we're gonna keep the heels connected, little V position as you roll up, 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 up. Reach for the toes, same type of length here, and now you should be getting this like woo into those outer hips. Same amount of length through the spine as you roll up. Tuck the tailbone, roll back down, keeping the heels connected. Rolling, 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 squeezing the glutes. Inhale. Exhale, scooping up, pulling through the core, squeezing the lower abs, the inner thighs. We lengthen, we get those outer hips, and then we sit up nice and tall. We're gonna go for one more here. And rolling down, 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 down. Inhale. Exhale, curling up, feeling the stretch through your back as well. As you reach long and forward, feel those spine extensors activate, lengthening you. Sit up nice and tall, lengthen at the top, come together into butterfly. And now with this butterfly, I know we usually just collapse forward. I want you guys to take butterfly a little bit differently today, actually. Instead of collapsing from the lumbar spine, the lower back, you guys are gonna curl from the upper spine, the thoracic. So you're gonna tuck your chin, keep the lower spine really stable, and start to curl your back. Curl the upper abs forward. I'll be full disclosure here, my thoracic spine doesn't have tons of mobility, so I don't get very far without having to collapse my back. But see how far you can get. Pulling the upper abs inward. You should feel this stretch down the sides of your spine, in your neck. And then you curl upward from the middle back to the upper back, to the neck, to the head. You keep the shoulders pulled back, and we do this again. Exhale. This is an ab movement in and of itself. You pull the shoulder blades down your back as you curl forward, trying to get your nose to connect to that space between your heels and your groin. And then roll up, up, up. Lengthen out. We're gonna do one more. Rolling down for me. Shoulder blades pull down your back, so you've got this great sense of opposition. This stretch, this pull. Deepest one yet. And then you roll up to a seated position. Keep the feet in this butterfly. Fingertips reach long and forward. On your exhale, you rotate, keeping your sits bones grounded. That's the theme of the day, is the sits bones grounding. As you pull your body forward, touch your fingertips down to the floor, keeping your sits bones grounded, and think about clicking your ribs in towards your spine. And then sit up nice and tall, rotate to the other side. I'm gonna start doing this facing you, because I think it'll just make more sense. So we rotate to the left, shoulders pull back, curl your upper spine over your lower spine, reach to the floor. Don't let your shoulders lift up here, yeah? Lower the shoulders down. Pull up and center. We're going for one more per side. Open the back of your rib cage. Keep the sits bones down. Pull your ribs, your upper abs together to deepen the stretch. Inhale. Lengthen the spine and then de-rotate. Last one. Exhale. Curl through the upper spine. Maybe you pop your hands onto your rib cage so they can create this little cinching motion. And then sit up nice and tall. And we come back to center. Relax for a moment. Lovely job, guys. All right, let's go ahead and we're coming to the pivotal of flexibility. Let's be real here. Cat-cow. Just kidding. Not so much the pivotal of flexibility, but at the very least of mobility. So come to an all-fours position so that we can set up and do cat-cow a little differently today. You guys are going to set wrists right underneath the shoulders, knees right underneath the hips, and we're going to do a few cat-cow as I always teach it, which is going to be squeezing the inner thigh slightly, pull the lower abs in, tuck the tailbone, and start to curl your spine up towards the ceiling, deep into your cat pose. You want to make sure the creases of your elbows are rotated forward so that your lats are nice and engaged as you come to this cow pose. lifting the chest, and then you tuck the tailbone. Coming to this cat pose. And then you flip the tailbone. Coming to your cow pose, feeling each vertebrae move individually as you cycle through this. We're gonna go for the last 3. Going through these transitions, last 2. Coming into this big cat pose. Last one. Coming all the way through cow, eyes come forward. Now we're gonna do something we very rarely do, which is get super loosey-goosey. I want you guys to completely just flow through the spine, letting your chest collapse, letting your back collapse, making it really fluid, but of course not painful. So if you're collapsing so much that you're starting to get pinchy and you collapse a little bit too much, pull it back together. But you want to make this next movement just super fluid, jellyfish-like, letting your shoulders move around in their sockets. Let your spine and your body move the way it wants to move. Let's go for 3 more. And last 2. And last 1. Pull to center, and now we're going to do one we've done many times before with a bigger emphasis on your pelvis. We're going to come to a thread the needle in all 4s. I'm actually going to do this one facing you guys because I want you all to be able to see my hips. We're going to open the chest to the ceiling. Notice that I did not shift my hips that way as we all love to. Keep the hips centered. Keep a little bit of pressure in the inner thighs. And as you thread the needle, you're not shifting your hips to the left. You're bringing your shoulder down as low as you can go, keeping the hips really centered. And then you come back up to center as well. So a lot of the time what people want to do is they want to just like push their hips over that way. But you're focusing on keeping the hips really stable as we cycle through this. Thinking about that rotation coming from your middle back. So you're rotating the thoracic spine as you unwind, middle spine, upper back, shoulders activate. And then you thread the needle, pull the core, and rotate through the obliques, through the upper back, through the shoulders, keep the hips centered. And then coming up and unwinding, and we continue on. Continue to cycle through this thread the needle. So one major thing you'll notice, you could even, once you get down to the thread portion, maybe try shifting your hips a little bit just to feel the difference in the stretch, because it's very palpable. Like if you actually let your hips shift over, you don't get as deep into it as when you actually have your hips in alignment. So maybe just feel it out. Obviously, if it's uncomfortable, don't do that. But see how it feels. We're gonna go for 1 more on this side. Keeping the core really, really tight. Let's thread the needle, keep those hips centered, bring the shoulder as low as you can. Pull the core in, hold it. Take an inhale and an exhale. And then send your body back upright. Now we have a whole other side to do. So now I'm gonna switch over just so we get a side view. But I really wanted you guys to get kind of locked in on the hips. So same concept here. We open up without shifting the hips. And then you curl inward without shifting the hips and rotate through this thread the needle. Woo. And you may find you have one side that's like, wow, this is a lot tighter than the other. And that's totally normal. Another really big thing to remember here, which I always, for some reason, I always forget to cue until the second side, is that when you're threading the needle and unwinding, you don't want to shift your hips backward. Pardon me, you want to make sure that your hips are staying really centered rather than going into this kind of forward-backward range. So you open and close, keeping the hips right over the knees. You don't want to shift back here. That's a very, very different stretch. But go ahead and continue. We're going to do 2 more on this side, and then we're going to move on. The arms should be starting to get some heat at this point. And let's go for the last one. Open. You're going to hold down this thread the needle. Keep the hips over the knees. Breathe, breathe, breathe for 3, 2, 1, come back center. Now, just come into a relaxed child's pose. However is comfortable for you. You come into this nice relaxed child's pose. And go ahead and push back forward. All right, we are going to come into the hip flexors once again. So we've already done a little bit on hip flexors, but I'm going to get a little bit deeper into this stretch. So come up onto your knees. If you guys need to, you can always double roll your mat or maybe pop pillows underneath your knees, because this is a really, really good one to do for the hips. So I'd like you guys to get comfortable with it. First things first, you're going to pull your right foot forward so that your foot is in line with your hip. It's not way out here. It's not across your body. Not that I think that would work very well. It's in line with your hip. It's slightly in front of the knee. And your hips are right over your standing leg. So we're in this great long line from knee to top of head. Pop your hands on your pelvic bone. And we're going to start by getting your pelvis in alignment. So the way we do that is you stick your butt out behind you. Stick your butt out, get all super loosey-goosey lazy with it. Now, you feel how right now my thumbs are so much higher than my index fingers. Your thumbs are so much higher than your index fingers. Squeeze your glutes and get your thumbs and your index fingers to the same height. So your thumbs and index fingers are horizontal right now. You're gonna maintain this position as you dig your right heel into the floor and drag your hips forward. And notice that I'm not sticking my butt out again to make my body go further. I'm keeping this nice horizontal position of my hips so I can even deeper stretch into the front of my left thigh. And then I push back upright. And now, because my hips were even, I start in a nice tall upright position. And then we repeat, we pull forward. And one of the greatest ways to help keep your hips in that horizontal position is to squeeze your back glute, squeeze the glute of your standing leg. And then pull back upright. The other major thing we want to watch out for here in this stretch is lifts. So we want to keep the front and the back even, and we want to keep the left and the right even. So when you pull forward, you want to make sure that you're not sticking your right hip out to the side. And then press back forward. And if you're doing all of these things, the stretch should actually be quite a bit of effort, and it should be pretty intense. And we're going to do one more on this side. I'm going to take it back this direction. Pull back forward. Hold it here for me. Maintain this great connection to the hip flexors. Lengthen out. Reach your left arm up to the ceiling, and let's take this stretch even higher into your side. Let's get up into these obliques a little bit. Start to give me just a very little side bend, keeping this great neutral pelvis. And then come out of the side bend, push yourself back upright. So just for giggles, if your knees aren't killing you right now, I want you guys to relax your tailbone. Relaxing your tailbone and not fall over, and just slide your body forward. And see the difference, like right now, I'm not getting any stretch, but right now I'm in a massive anterior pelvic tilt, or excuse me, posterior pelvic tilt. My pelvis is like dipping way far forward, and I'm not getting any stretch even though the range looks super big. So that's just a huge thing to notice. When your hips are actually active and in a neutral position, you get so much deeper into the stretch the way your body's supposed to feel. So let's go ahead and come right around to the opposite side. Again, maybe grab a pillow or something for your knees if you need it, but make sure that your hips, or your foot is in line with your hip, not out to the side. Before you go anywhere, squeeze the glute, make sure that your hips are nice and even, across from front to back as well as from left to right, and then start to drag your body forward. And feel this stretch in the front of your right thigh. And then push back. And now I find it significantly harder to do on this side to keep my hips even. I'll show you guys. I don't think I do it particularly well, but for me, keeping my hips from going up when I go into this stretch. It's really hard. And so it means I just can't get into the stretches deeply yet. And that's cool. That's all just comes with the territory of learning how to move correctly. It's a process. But you continue to work on it, you can continue to keep everything in nice alignment, and eventually the range comes. So let's go for another 3. And pressing back. We have last 2. And back we go. And we're gonna go for the last one. Hold your forward position. Hold the core in and up. Reach the right arm up overhead. If you need to grab onto something for balance, that's totally fine. This is about the stretch, not about learning to balance. Get a little side bend going on in there. Careful not to hike your left hip up. And then come back to neutral. And then go ahead and relax both the legs. All right, we are going to come to a standing position now. Let me scooch myself back so I don't become a headless instructor. Yes. And we're just going to do some nice movements. Again, kind of going back to that idea of keeping the neutral pelvis. So first things first, I want you to just plant your feet underneath your hips. We're just going to go for a little bit of rotation. Lazy rotation. Move your hips, move your legs, move your shoulders. Whatever, we're not trying to keep anything particularly still. And we've got this big loosey-goosey motion going on, rocking our hips around, letting our arms swing for 3, 2, 1, and go ahead, come back to center. So typically when we do that, that kind of loosey-goosey swinging is all coming from the pelvis and the lower back. And that's not always a great thing because long term, that if we don't have the core control, that keeps us, puts us at higher risk of herniating discs and not such fun things like that. So what we're going to do is create stability in that stretch. You're going to pull the core in and up. You're going to squeeze the glutes. Again, going back to that idea of anterior pelvic tilt. So we're not here. You're shift the weight into your heels. Maintain that nice neutral pelvis so the butt is active, your glutes are active. On your exhale, think about rotating the rib cage. In fact, pop your hands on your ribs. Rotate your rib cage over to the right side, keeping your hips facing forward. And one thing you want to watch out for doing is leaning backward while you rotate. We don't want to lean, we just want to look. And then inhale, bring yourself back to forward. We go left side. And inhale back to center, right side. You see how much less rotation you get when you're not loosey-goosey? Keep the hands on the ribs, keep the shoulders down. And let's do 3 more. Exhale. Keeping the hips even in center. Exhale. 1 more side, and exhale. Come back to center. All right, now take your hands down by your side. I've taught this before in a seated position. Today we're going to do standing upright. You're going to keep your hips, everything here, lumbar spine really rooted on the floor. Reach the left arm up overhead. Right arm shoots down to the ground. You're going to lift your left armpit up to the ceiling without hiking your hip up. You keep the hips down, you lengthen, 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 take that great bend, because what this lift does is it keeps you from going here and collapsing. And then you lengthen, pull your arms through center, opposite side. Lengthen up, keep that hip down, keep the right hip down. You're pulling the lower abs in towards each other. You stretch your body up higher, and then pull back through center, 1 more per side. So we're giving our spine a really stable base to work with in our hips, because the spine starts right around here. And this stable base gives us an opportunity to lengthen up even higher. Let's switch directions. You want to keep the core pulled in, so your SI, those joints that help keep your pelvis really stable, don't go all wonky on you. pull to center. Roll the shoulders back, dive forward, keeping the lower back really still. Squeeze the glutes. Let your chin fall to your chest, let your arms fall forward. Let your upper back fall towards the ground. Squeeze your glutes for as long as you can. And then start to roll down to the floor from the middle back to the lower back. You lengthen down as low as you can go. And then squeeze your glutes, bend the knees, roll yourself back up to standing. Lower back first, then middle back, upper back, neck, head, inhale. We're gonna do one more just like that. From a side view, we exhale, roll down. Squeeze your glutes, keep them as forward as you can for as long as you can. All right, once you can't do it anymore, you roll through the middle back, then the lower back. You go as low as you can, and then roll yourself up, squeezing the glutes, bending the knees slightly, rolling from the lower back, lengthen middle back, upper back, neck, head, roll the shoulders back. Beautiful job, guys. All right, let's go ahead and come full circle. We're gonna bring it down to the ground. I want you guys to come flat on your back, press your arms down by your side, and bring your feet into parallel. So, pressing your arms into the ground, find a nice neutral to begin. We're gonna bridge. Squeeze your glutes, roll your hips up to the ceiling, lengthen your spine out. Take note of how it feels. And then roll yourself down. Take note of how this articulation feels. Woo, super fluid. Inhale. And exhale. Rolling the hips up. Press the arms down. Pull the upper abs in towards your ribs. And then roll down, keeping the collarbones open. Rolling through each section of your spine. Let's do one more. Exhale, roll up. Squeezing the glutes, rolling up. And then roll yourself back down, one vertebrae at a time, lengthening the spine, opening the chest. Inhale to neutral. And then let your knees rock side to side. And see how they feel. Woo. Mine feels super fluid. So fluid, I could just like knock them back and forth if I wanted to. Come center. And let's do big inhales and exhales. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Roll onto your side. And come up to seated. Beautiful, beautiful job, guys. I hope you enjoyed that stretch. I hope you feel so much more limber. I certainly do. Today we did, I would say, probably more of a lower body focus. I kind of wanted to just see how it would feel when I got into class, and it was definitely more of a lower body, kind of back of the body focus day. Come Wednesday night, we're going to be doing more kind of upper spine, thoracic, shoulder, chest type stuff. So that'll be a really fun class to pop into as well. But I hope everything I kind of talked about today was clear. I know we focused a lot on the neutral spine and neutral pelvis, which we do a lot in class anyway. So hopefully some of these stretches were just able to reinforce that. And now you have really good positions that you can do some of these Pilates classical movements when we do them in class. All right, guys, you all have a really, really lovely night. And I will see you all later this week. And have a good one, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much.